Hello students, welcome to another lecture of human anatomy and physiology, and in today's lecture we will be discussing about hemoglobin and anemia. So let's start. So talking about hemoglobin is a large complex molecule which contains a protein and a iron containing complex, right? So the protein which is present in hemoglobin is termed as globin and the iron containing complex is called heme. And each hemoglobin molecule contains 4 globin chain and 4 heme units, right? So this is a basic structure of your hemoglobin which contains the protein chain and iron containing groups. So each hemoglobin molecule, it contains 4 globin chains and it contains 4 heme units. Now, as each atom of iron can combine with an oxygen molecule, this means that a single hemoglobin molecule can carry up to 4 molecules of oxygen because 4 binding units are present in a hemoglobin molecule. So, 4 molecules of oxygen can be transported with the help of one hemoglobin molecule. Now, iron is carried in the bloodstream which is bound to its transport protein, and that transport protein is termed as transferrin, which is stored in the liver. Normal red blood cells production requires a steady supply of iron, as we have already studied this particular mechanism in our previous lecture. Now coming to anemia, right? So talking about anemia is a condition wherein the blood becomes incapable of carrying oxygen to meet the need of the body, right? And this mainly happens when there is a low amount of hemoglobin in the blood, but it can also occur due to the production of faulty hemoglobin, meaning that the hemoglobin is incapable of carrying oxygen. Now, anemia is classified depending upon the cause, right? So the first cause is production of insufficient or defective erythrocytes. Erythrocytes are your red blood cells. So if the number of red blood cells being released is too low or the red blood cells are defective in some way, anemia can result. Important causes include iron deficiency, vitamin B12 and folic acid deficiency, and bone marrow failure, right? Then the second cause is your blood loss or excessive erythrocyte breakdown, which is termed as hemolysis. So this is also a cause of your anemia. Talking about the signs and symptoms of anemia, anemia can cause abnormal changes in your red cell size or color, which is detectable through microscope. Examples include tachycardia. Tachycardia is the increase in the heart rate, which is mainly done to improve the blood supply and speed up the circulation of blood throughout the body. The second symptom might be your palpitation or angina pectoris. Angina pectoris is the pain in the chest area, right? These are mainly caused by increased effort of the overloaded heart muscles, because heart muscles have to work more to supply more blood to the body. Then the next signs and symptoms can be breathlessness on exertion, when oxygen requirement increases, respiratory rate and effort rises in an effort to meet the greater demand of the body. Now the first type of anemia is, it mainly occurs due to the deficiency of iron. This is the most common form of anemia in many parts of the world, right? In iron deficiency anemia, what happens? The red blood cell count is often normal, but the cells are small, pale, of variable size and contain less amount of hemoglobin than normal. And we all know that hemoglobin is responsible for carrying oxygen. So if the amount of hemoglobin in the blood is less, the blood will be incapable of carrying enough oxygen. The normal amount of hemoglobin in each cell is regarded as, the mean cell hemoglobin. Now, iron deficiency anemia can result from deficient intake of iron, usually high iron requirement or poor absorption from the alimentary tract. Now, the second type of anemia is your vitamin B12 or folic acid deficiency anemia. Now, deficiency of vitamin B12 or folic acid, it impairs the erythrocyte maturation, and abnormally large erythrocytes, which are termed as megaloblast, they are formed in the blood. Right? Now, we studied in our last lecture also that during the process of erythropoiesis, several cell division occur, and the daughter cell at each stage are smaller than the parent cell because there is not much time of cell enlargement between divisions. Right? Now, when deficiency of vitamin B12 and folic acid occurs, the rate of DNA and RNA synthesis is reduced, which delays the cell division. The cells, therefore, it grows larger than the normal size between the two divisions. Circulating cells are immature, they are larger than normal, and some are nucleated also. These cells are fragile and their lifespan is reduced between 40 to 50 days as compared to 120 days of the normal RBC. Now, the next type of anemia is your aplastic anemia. So, aplastic anemia is also termed as hypoplastic anemia. This mainly results from bone marrow failure. Right? Now, erythrocytes numbers are reduced. Since the bone marrow also produces leukocytes and platelets, so leukopenia, which is your low WBC count, and thrombocytopenia, which is your low platelet count, are likely to occur. When all of these cells are low, then this condition is termed as pancytopenia, and this is accompanied by anemia, diminished immunity, and a tendency to bleed, because WBC are responsible for your immunity and platelets help in stopping your bleeding. Right? Now, this condition is occasionally inherited. Now, usually no cause is identified, but some amount of factors which can be a cause of aplastic anemia are your drugs, basically your cytotoxic therapy, and rarely as an adverse reaction to anti-inflammatory drugs or to antibiotics. Second is your ionizing radiations. Third is your some chemicals like benzene and its derivatives, and the last is your viral diseases including hepatitis. Now, the next type of anemia is your hemolytic anemia. Now, these occur when circulating red blood cells, they are destroyed or are removed permanently from the blood because the cells are abnormal or the spleen is overactive. Most hemolysis, it takes place in the liver or spleen, and the normal erythrocyte lifespan of 120 days, it can be shortened. If the condition is mild, red cell number may remain stable because the red bone marrow production of erythrocyte increases to compensate the loss. So there may be ongoing hemolysis without anemia sometimes. Right? However, if the bone marrow cannot compensate, the red blood cell number will fall and anemia may result. Now, the next type of anemia is your congenital hemolytic anemia. In these diseases, basically what happens, your genetic abnormality leads to the synthesis of abnormal hemoglobin and increased red blood membrane fragility, reducing their oxygen carrying capacity and reducing their lifespan. The most common forms of this particular anemia are your sickle cell anemia and thalassemia. Now, talking about sickle cell anemia, as the name suggests, the normal blood cell, they turn into sickle cells, right? Now, the abnormal hemoglobin molecule becomes mishappen when deoxygenated, making the erythrocyte sickle shaped. If the cells contain a high proportion of abnormal hemoglobin, sickling is permanent, right? Now, as a result of which what happens, the lifespan of the cell is reduced and it causes early hemolysis, which causes anemia. Sickle cells do not move smoothly through the circulation. They also obstruct the blood flow, leading to clotting. Now, this is your image of your sickled erythrocyte and your normal erythrocyte. Now, talking about thalassemia. Now, this is an inherited condition which causes abnormal hemoglobin production, which in turn reduces erythropoiesis, that is the formation of your RBCs, and it stimulates hemolysis. Now, the resultant anemia may be present in a range of forms, from mild and asymptomatic to profound and life-threatening form of thalassemia. So, thank you so much, dear students. This was all in today's lecture.